Hey everyone, hi there, and good evening. Welcome to this edition of Heart to Heart with Ethel Da Costa, brought to you in association with the Mac Clinic, Malaysia's pioneering aesthetic institution run by Dr. Hugh and his fabulous team of aesthetic doctors. Today is a very interesting topic, and I have a very special guest who I've been dying to meet for a very, very long time. And our schedules always kind of, overlapped each other. She's a very busy woman, and it was quite tough for me to kind of get a confirmed date from her to have her on my hot seat. And today happened to be the day that she said, "Hey, you know, let's just do this. I'm free today, and I'm more than happy to kind of, to be part of Heart to Heart." And she's going to be joining us very, very soon. In the meantime, I hope all of you have had a great week. A fabulous month of October begins. I quite like October because it sets a new mood. The weather changes. It's the beginning of autumn, though Malaysia hardly has autumn in that sense. But worldwide, it heralds the autumn season. You find nature having its own kind of little vibration, that its own dance, as I call it. That if you're sensitive enough, you can sense that that happens in. I like October because October means that there is just 3 more months to December, and soon it's the end of the year. Can you imagine? The year just flew by. 2022 just flew by. We're just 3 months away from 2023. Wow, this has been quite an exciting, high energy month for me. A lot of new things, a lot of new changes, a lot of new lessons and learnings, and a lot of new energies. I love change. Change is the only constant I keep saying, and I love change because I think all of us are here to constantly evolve, add quality to our life, make changes within, because when you change within, it reflects in changes in your outer world. I'm very focused in that direction. And my guest tonight, Shrii Drona Devi, who is the CEO and founder of Drona Wellness, will talk so much about how we need to invest into our own mental health to ensure a great quality of life. And without wasting any more time, let me just have Drona joining us. But in the meantime, I found this very interesting, information and details that I found when I was doing a little bit of research on my own about the state of mental health in Malaysia. And it's completely shocking, to me as well. So I learned that 1 in 3 Malaysians have mental health issues, with the highest prevalence among those aged between 16 and 19. Also, as well as individuals who come from the low income families. But mental health problems are seen. Data says that across economic stratas. How serious is mental health in Malaysia? Is also very, again, very revealing the information. It says it is one of the leading causes of disability and health loss in Malaysia, which accounts to almost 8.6% of the total disability adjusted life years. And for me, that was like, wow, like really wow, to understand that, that Malaysia as a country also needs to really focus and look very sharply in improving, its happiness quotient, as I call it. And Shrii Drona Devi, who's the founder and CEO of Drona Wellness, will tell us so much more about, the state of mental health in Malaysia, the different categories of mental health and mental health issues and problems, and her own journey into, adding to quality of life. So let's just get on to heart this Sunday with me, Ethel Da Costa, with my guest, Sri Drona Devi, on my hot seat. Hey there, Drona. Hi.
Hi, hi. Thank you for having me.
Welcome to the hot seat on this edition of Heart to Heart with me. Thank you so much, Drona, for making the time, because I know our schedules have been clashing on and off. With you being busy and me being after you saying I have to have you on my show. But thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you so much for making the time. So, before we kind of get into all the nitty gritties, of mental health and all the, as I said, I was doing research on it myself and was quite shocked to see, a whole lot of data that were just popping out. Why don't you introduce, yourself to my audiences to have this, interview to start off?
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for the wonderful and a brief introduction. And I think the awareness of mental health is there due to COVID. COVID has actually accelerated the awareness on mental health.
Hmm.
However, my role as a mental health responder, as a mental health response instructor, is actually to facilitate. I'm not a mental health professional, but my role is actually to normalize a help seeking behavior. So
Hmm.
that's like, I call it like a mission. My long
Yes.
term goal is that
Yes.
anyone, if you have any problems, seek help. Like, do not just keep it within, because I think we have grown in this culture where we are always told to, what would people say?
Yes.
What would the neighbors think? We are so concerned about what people will say rather than what I have to say. And I just want to be heard.
Hmm.
That's why these days, even the COVID, right? When
Yeah.
I know people who had COVID, suffered from COVID, but they didn't want to tell anyone because of the stigma.
Hmm.
So stigma is everywhere. I think, as a woman, as a mother, parents, we have our own style. So it's the same thing that was brought to mental health. And sadly, why I'm embarking on this mission is actually because that one life matters to me.
Yes. Yes.
So I told myself that, Drona, learn how to be supportive, because I am a very judgmental person. Whenever somebody is telling me something, in my early days, I would just snap and say that, no, why are you thinking such?
Right.
So when I started doing research on mindset, when I founded Drona Wellness, and I was just trying to find, okay, where do I go? How do I fit
Hmm.
into this wellness industry, which is a $1 trillion business?
Yes.
Then I
It's huge.
realized, okay, let's go into health mindset. And that's when I did a lot of research, and I realized that it was actually the mental health that was, the awareness was lacking among people around me.
Yes.
So that's
Hmm.
when I saw the opportunity to, I founded Rana Wellness, and I said, okay, this is what I'm going to do. Normalize a help seeking behavior. So
Correct.
it has
Yeah.
been good. It has been good, trying to connect people. I'm like, the catalyst, trying to build the gap
Hmm.
between a layman and a mental health professional, or even a
Correct.
counselor.
Yes. Yeah. Makes sense. Makes a lot of sense actually. So, any particular experience or like a personal experience that acted as a catalyst for you to establish donor wellness? And for the benefit of my audience, what services does it offer?
Okay, so my website is www.dronawellness.com. So I have services that, a talk therapy, counseling, mentoring. Some people just want to know where do you
Mhm.
need to get direction, right?
Yes,
And
yes.
the services that I provide is something that I needed actually. Being a biotechnologist, being a researcher, I read a lot. I do a lot of research on, lifestyle modification because that's how I started my job. I was
Okay.
working with the biotech firm where we needed to do research on lifestyle modification, type 2 diabetes, then I
Oh,
realized that, okay, there was connection. And I was like an all-rounder. I was put in all customer service, sales, marketing, and the research department. So I would pick up calls and talk to people. So I had a lot of men calling in and saying that, I need help. I'm not performing well, and what do I do? Can the supplement help me? Then I started
oh,
realizing, like, why only men are calling in?
yes.
Women would just be like very low percentage. Then when it
Interesting.
happened to me, that's when
Yeah.
I realized, I was okay during my first pregnancy, but during my second pregnancy, I had uh, post pregnancy blues.
Okay.
Probably the
Postpartum.
first one, yes. And it was
Yeah.
like, uh, it was not depression yet because I managed to do some kind of coping skills, talking to professionals and getting help. So that help seeking behavior that I had within, and this was taught to me when I was a very young age. My dad
Hmm.
used to tell me, the more you ask next birth, you will
Yes.
be a very smart child, he will tell me. So he was already preparing me for the next birth. So I always ask questions, like sometimes silly questions. My sister will be like, why are you asking this question? But I felt really good asking questions
Hmm.
because I wanted
Hmm.
answers, and probably I wanted answers that I already know. So I
Yes.
would always prop and ask even to my lecturers, my teachers. Then one day when I was looking at my baby, right, he was just like 1 month, and I started crying. And I said, what is happening? I know so much about postpartum depression. I know so much about, parenting style and talking to doctors, psychologists, child psychologists. Then I realized that I was actually in denial.
Hmm. Hmm. Okay.
So
Okay.
that's when I looked back. I founded Drona Wellness. It's actually the age of my eldest son, 6 years old. But during the period of time, I was just finding like a niche. Okay, where do I go into?
Hmm. Hmm.
So I realized that all these needed uh, mental health perspective. Physical
Correct.
health was there. I
Yes.
think even in Malaysia, we have a lot of like physical fitness trainers. Every corner you can see.
Yes. I've
But
seen that. Yeah. Yeah.
and we're talking about clinical psychologists, we have like a handful of 15 to 20 of them
Okay.
in
Okay.
Malaysia. Can you
Okay.
imagine? And
Oh,
when I looked back at school counselors, there was only one counselor in each school. Imagine
for
talking
all
to
those kids.
five
Wow.
thousand students, 4,000 students. They could be undergoing burnout. Then I was like, okay,
Yes.
let me be the catalyst.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I decided to be a first aider. So I took
Hmm.
up a course with Malaysian Mental Health Association, became a first aider, and then I said, okay, maybe I needed to do more to be an
Yes.
educator. I do not need to solve problems, yeah, but
Hmm.
my mission was to normalize a help-seeking behavior. So when people come to me and say, okay, I have weight issues and body image, I would prefer them, okay, why not talk to a dietitian? Why not
Correct.
talk to a nutritionist, and some parents would come to me and say, Drona, I have my kid is like having red flags of autism. I said, okay, go and speak to a child psychologist. Why do
Correct.
you
Yes.
need to think again and again, oh, what's happening to my kid, and worry?
Hmm.
So
Hmm. Hmm.
that's when I said, okay, I stepped in and I said, and we live in a culture where toxic positivity is there.
Yes. Absolutely. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, when I'm sharing something to my parents, especially my mom is okay. My dad's like, he'd be like, no, you're not supposed to think like this, try to be positive. Yes, but my emotions, when
Mm.
I needed to cry, everyone would tell me, don't cry.
Yeah. Yeah.
But when my mom helped me and she said, Drona, just cry your lungs out.
Yes.
And you won't believe me, I felt so good
Yeah.
because I was supported.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
although it was a wrong thing because I was upset with like my personal issues and all, my mom didn't want to talk much about that. But
Mm.
I was her concern. I was her
Mm.
focus.
Mm.
She focused on me and she said, "Okay, just cry."
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And it transformed my life.
Yes.
So
Wow.
here I am today.
That's powerful. Yeah, that's powerful. I must also share this time because you mentioned about crying. I think crying is a catalyst for great healing. Because
Yes.
when I was telling you offline too, when I stepped into doing my own inner work in 2019, I was a mess. I was crying everywhere, Rona, you know,
Yes.
and my coach, my life coach, such a compassionate woman. She said, "Do not stop. When the floodgates open, allow it to flow." So I was sitting at work crying. I would be sitting down, in the tuk-tuk, either going to work or coming back home. I would just burst out crying. I would cry in the middle of a meal. I would suddenly cry, in the bathroom while having a shower and stuff like that. It is just, how do you say it?
Pouring
It was
out
like, yeah, it was like a
like a
cleansing
reservoir.
process.
Yeah.
Cleansing process, so I urge men and women, please cry,
Yes.
because seriously, you are doing your spiritual self and your own psyche so much of good when you allow yourself to feel.
That
Correct,
emotion.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah, feel
Yes.
it,
Yes.
kind of, let it flow down, let it cleanse you. It's like a very poetically, it's like waves of rivers, washing over you to clean you up, that kind of thing. Wow, so beautifully said. I like that. I like that. Thank you. I can see that our audiences have tuned in. There's Chef Gaia. Thank you so much. It's a big, huge hello to you for joining in and being part of this conversation. Please stay on because we have so much here to discuss and to share, with Drona being on the hot seat with me. And thank you, Drona, back again, for making the time today. As we move on to the questions, as we move on, in our conversation, um, I would like to know from you, now that you've established how your own, experiences acted as a catalyst to kind of, to even establish your own, baby, enterprise called Drona Wellness. What causes mental health issues?
Okay. So usually, like, this is according to research, yeah.
Mm.
There are three main risk factors that contributes to mental health issues. The
Okay.
first one, it could be psychological. It
Okay.
could be due to like some kind of unhealed trauma, abuse, something that's psychological.
Okay.
Unheard, they from young they are not given the opportunity to speak up, to share their experiences. So that is one. Secondly is biological factors. It could be defect, like if it could be due in the womb, some kind of genetic disorders, or
Okay.
if the mom has probably some kind of condition during pregnancy
Okay.
that would cause the brain uh, not to develop properly.
Okay.
And of course, thirdly would be the biological risk factors. So
Oh.
it could be some kind of genetic defects. That's why it's very hard to say that this person is actually faking it.
Hmm. Hmm.
And it's very like for me, right, as an educator, I feel very upset when people tell me that he is attention seeking.
Mm,
or she is
mm.
attention seeking. And
Yes.
they start gossiping, they start talking about them and saying that they have always been like this and all. But because coming from a educator point of view, I know that there are many underlying factors.
Correct.
Yeah. It's not only the psychological, it's something that they don't even know there's a imbalance, chemical imbalance in their brain. That's
Right.
why they are acting up how they are. Sometimes they are in denial, they could be in denial, and it could also be some kind of personality disorder.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
So
Hmm.
then I started doing, like, research. Me being a typical researcher, I would just go back and say, okay, why are you saying this about this person and all. But of course, coming back to what the research has shown is a little bit different than what cultural sensitivity, when we talk about cultural sensitivity.
Right.
Because sometimes when you live in certain culture, like here in Malaysia, right, when
Yes.
someone is reacting or responding differently, when there's a change in their behavior, they would immediately say, oh, this person have been like black magic,
Hmm.
or
I've
they
heard
have
that.
been
I,
like some kind of
yeah. Yeah.
wrongdoings
I've
or
heard that.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah, but at the same time, me being a responder and a first aider, I need to also be cultural sensitive. I need to
Yes.
be sensitive towards all this. So if this person is going towards a spiritual healer, so be it. Because my mission is to normalize a help-seeking behavior. So
Correct.
mainly there are these three main factors um, that causes mental health issues. However, early intervention produces better results or better outcomes. So,
Okay.
what happens is when somebody is already showing signs and symptoms, when their loved ones or the people close to them are unable to detect all this, right? That's when it would lead to a poor mental health.
Okay.
And then
Okay.
it will step down towards like the spiral of a mental health disorder.
Mm-hmm.
Then it becomes a huge concern because sometimes it's just too late to look into whatever problems that this person is facing.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
so that's why having an awareness, like, identifying signs and symptoms is very, very important, not to diagnose or to say, oh, you have depression, oh, you have anxiety. It's not for that, but it's
Correct.
actually for the early intervention.
Yeah. That makes sense. That makes sense actually. So yeah, that makes absolute sense about early intervention, right? So
Yes.
one is
So
able to kind of.
when you can see a change, right? Okay, there's a change in behavior. There's a
Yeah.
change in probably even in appearance, hygiene, personal hygiene.
Yes. Yes.
Then you would say, okay, this person needs some kind of help.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
the problem is here in Malaysia, it's I think it's not only in Malaysia, it's a universal thing. Because when I spoke to my coach in Australia, right, she was saying, no, it's everywhere. People are in
Hmm.
denial. That
Hmm.
is a
Hmm.
very normal defense mechanism as well as a human. Sometimes we would go, if we are use our intellect, we will say, okay, this is something that this person needs help.
Right.
But sometimes, if it's your loved ones or if it's your close ones, if you have no idea on what are the signs and symptoms, then you would say, oh, okay, he is changing.
Hmm.
Probably he's just not interested in me anymore, or
Hmm.
he wants to isolate himself. Okay, let me give him the space. Then
Hmm.
the relationship would if you are in a relationship, then you will have problems, like
Correct.
as with your
Correct.
spouse or with your girlfriend, boyfriend.
Yeah.
Relationship issue starts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also believe and very strongly believe now that there is no age bar for therapy, and that if you have access to it, you must
Yeah.
invest in it, right?
Yes.
Irrespective
Yes.
of, at least for your own personal development, I would say, whether you have
Yes.
issues or not, or problems are there or not, even for your own personal development, I think therapy is beautiful if you have access to, and to invest in yourself, to kind of wanting to become more self-aware, right? In that way. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I know. I agree. I agree. And therefore, I think conversations around mental health need to be more open, more healthy, like you said, normalize seeking help. I like
Yes.
that. You know, I like that word that you use to normalize seeking help. That is perfectly fine to seek help. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
And
correct.
you know what I notice, looking at the culture that I've grown up with, right? Like
Right.
being a Hindu, and we have our guru, and and there's
Yes.
like Mata Pita Guru and Devam. That
Yeah.
slokas that we were taught from young. So
The
when we
religious
attain
component.
certain age, yeah, and when we reach certain age, we are sent to a guru to guide
Mm-hmm.
us. So
Hmm.
actually, if you look into science, is
Yes.
our parents are seeking help from a
Mm.
third person
Yes.
and saying that, okay, this he is now your responsibility, please. So like that, like how you said, you have life coach.
Yes.
Even for me, I have like my counselor friend that I always go to. Then at one point of time, I thought, okay, I need a psychologist to step
Yes.
in, a clinical psychologist to step in,
Mm.
and
Mm.
I
Mm.
did that. So whatever that I'm sharing, it's not like I've not done that. I
Yes.
have, because I also need to see, okay, is this affordable? Or
Yes.
is this, if I can just tell someone, hey, why not go and see a doctor? But I need to
Correct.
know if this particular doctor is passionate about mental health or not.
Yes.
If
Absolutely
he
correct.
of
Yes.
if he and she is someone that I do not know, then
Mm.
it's going to cause a negative impact again on this person
Yes.
who's already helpless.
Correct.
So that's why
That's
I
why it's so
always.
important, no? That's why it's so important to choose the right, I think, caregiver, if that's the right word,
Yeah.
towards helping you or assisting you. Correct? Yeah, that's very
Yes.
true. That is very,
Yes.
very true. Correct. Which leads me into our next question. I think kind of nicely segues into it. What are the different categories of mental health problems? I want to also know, for the benefit of my audience,
Hmm.
how big a problem is it in Malaysia and why is it so?
Okay. So, as an educator, we are constantly bombarded with informations and all,
Yes,
right? So,
correct.
when we talk about mental health, um, the problem, it is a leading problem currently here in Malaysia, because I think it's a universal thing. But let's
Yes,
talk about Malaysia because
yeah,
of COVID. So,
correct.
anxiety and depression, it's like one of the top. However, looking
Hmm.
at the accident rates in Malaysia,
Accident rates, you're saying.
yes,
Okay.
accident rates, the trauma that it causes, actually, kind of like, the first one would be anxiety and depression, and then the post uh, st- uh, post traumatic stress
Rest
disorder, that
assured.
that is something that is leading now, because if you see, the accident rate is very high. However, what is the authority, or when someone um, is met with an accident, what we
Yes.
do, we usually just go straight to the police station, get
Hmm.
things done. If you are hurt, you are treated in the as like a um, in like a clinic or in a
Yes.
hospital, then they just send you back home. So my question is, there's no counseling done
Hmm.
unless it's requested.
Hmm. Oh,
So
okay.
that's
Okay.
why when I was talking to my friends who are like psychologists and in the psychiatrist department and all, and they were also saying that, okay, this is the one that is leading at the moment,
Okay.
because of the impact, the trauma,
Hmm.
the
Hmm.
unhealed
Hmm.
trauma. And it's very difficult. Like, I do not know if you have, but I had this experience of accident. Until today, when I close my eyes, I can feel, and I
Okay.
have this phobia.
Hmm.
I'm a left-hander,
Okay.
so I don't like to turn towards the right. I feel like whenever I'm turning to the right, I need to be more cautious. But I'm
Yeah.
very comfortable turning to my left. So
Okay.
when this accident took place, right, and it was many years ago, I think about 15 years ago, but it's still very fresh in my mind.
Hmm. Hmm.
So that's why, when I was talking to my counselor, when we were doing a lot of research on why self love doesn't work with people who have been abused, who
Yes.
have
Yes.
underwent trauma, because they
Correct.
really hate that part of themselves. Then
Right.
this stress disorder came in, this traumatic stress disorder came in, and I felt that okay, yeah, it rightly fell in place. And of course, in Malaysia, there's substance abuse, and
Yes.
due to COVID, and we were in isolation, and people started using this as a coping mechanism.
Hmm.
Even research even shares that
Yes. Yeah.
uh,
I
those
read
who are
that. Yeah.
smokers
Read
and
that.
drinkers are also, they have mental health issues.
Correct.
They have underlying issues of mental health problems that's untreated. That's
Correct.
why they seek for all these tobacco and drugs and substance related
Yes.
abuse.
Yes.
So here, and like what you said, in the introduction of the age
Hmm.
factor,
Right.
that's a very crucial age.
It is
And
correct, right? Yeah.
yeah,
16
and
to 19, they said. Yeah.
and it's very sad to see that that age is, it's when they are going to suicide or they are planning to suicide. That's a very crucial period, that age, that
Hmm.
16 to 24 that you have said. And sometimes, like I said, we can talk about all the risk factors,
Correct.
but when there's no support, when there's no they are not heard,
Correct.
that's when they just indulge. But I'm so thankful that I have a handful of universities who came to me
Okay.
and
Okay.
said, okay, Drona, can you do this program for lecturers
Hmm.
and
Oh,
then
okay.
student leaders? You know,
Yes.
I've even went up to Singapore to do programs, because first aid. Okay, if somebody is
Hmm.
crying,
Right.
somebody, if there's a crisis, how do we engage them? How do we start a conversation?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
it's very difficult to start a conversation because we Asians, we don't have a vocabulary when it comes to mental health.
Correct.
So that's why I'm wearing this t-shirt today. This could be something that everyone would remember. Upper kaba.
Yes.
If you really do not know what to ask a person or how to help that person, you can just start with such questions like this. Have you eaten? How are you today? If you're
Hmm.
not okay, it's okay, that you're not okay. Do you want to share? Can you tell me
Right.
how? This vocabulary is not taught in school.
Yes.
So
Absolutely
this is
correct.
this is something that we learned as we go. And like I said earlier, the toxic positivity, right?
Yes.
When you lose someone, when you feel sad, everyone will be like cheering up and say, be strong, you can do it. But
Yeah.
you just want to be vulnerable. You just want to
Correct.
cry.
Correct.
So,
Yes.
like when you said men, we were always told that, hey, don't behave like, men don't cry, boys don't cry. Why are you crying like a girl?
Right.
We grew up in the society or community that used such phrases.
Hmm.
So that's why it's very difficult to open up. But I must say that things are changing, and I think it's because of wonderful people like you, who's constantly creating awareness and writing and talking about it, that someone is picking it up and they are being the change. We
Yes.
cannot control everyone, right?
Correct.
So we
Yes.
can do something from within that you
Yeah.
genuinely really want. And I'm raising two boys. I cannot tell don't cry to my boys.
Correct.
Very often I hear that, because it takes a village to raise a child. So
Yes.
people other than me, when they are looking after them, they throw such questions. But I have to say, hello, please stop. You know don't do not say use such words on my boys,
Hmm.
because I
Hmm.
just want them, if they are in pain, let them cry.
Correct.
If they want to use something that, like pink color or something, do not stereotype, do not associate with anything. So I had to educate my boy and
Correct.
tell, Jairaj, red color is a pink is actually from red. It's
Right.
a very strong color, and when you mix it with white, it becomes pink, so you can
Yes.
still use it. And he refuses. He'll be like, no, Amma, this is for girls. So I had to step up. I had to be
Hmm.
the change. I had to make the change. So that
Yes.
that's
I love
why
that.
I'm
That's the
here.
only way it happens. That's the only way it happens, Rona. And thank you, because I really appreciate the fact that you kind of how do you call it, commended what I'm doing too, because I am really invested in it.
Yes.
I also believe very strongly that there is a desperate need to make it more accessible to to people from all income groups, because I understand that sometimes finances also plays a huge factor that
Yes.
cuts accessibility in that way, right? Because sometimes maybe people cannot afford having access, though there's a need for it that way. My urgent plea is that governments, whether it's Malaysia or India, to step up healthcare services, to be able to give opportunities to a larger section of people, to be able to help them heal, care for their mental state, of being, because a healthy population ensures a happy population, correct, in that way.
Yes.
I
Yes.
also I also, and I keep saying this, that all schools mandatorily should have a group of counselors, because like you mentioned, you can't have one counselor for 5,000 students. It just doesn't make sense at all,
Yeah.
whether it is primary or secondary or college, right, in that way, to have a team of counselors on board, so that students have access, of getting the right advice, right help, right support systems that they need, at an educational level. I can say that during my college life too, I had this compassionate teacher, and I always looked at her as my surrogate mom.
Hmm.
And I think she, Miss Nora, I'm so grateful to her. I think she kept me together during that 16 to 20, that kind of
Yes.
formative years of my life, because I was so full of angst. I had questions which were, I think she should, she used to struggle so much to have answers to my questions, because I was so full of angst, and I think when you're young and creative, and you have so much anger also, right? And so
Yes.
much trying to kind of direct it, that kind of thing. Miss Nora was like my guardian angel. I think she really kept me together. I don't we didn't have counselors in our college
Yes.
too, correct? Despite being a college of very high stature and stuff like that, we did not have counselors. There was no one that you could go to talk to, and that's why I really like, beautiful how you also said it. It is so important today, because times are changing, that that schools, colleges, anything that provides education, even for teachers, right, to have counselors that they can go and talk to. Yeah, Jonas, if it's a momentum that we need to start, I'm offering you my support. Let's just do it, like
Yes.
seriously.
Yes.
Let us just
Yes.
do that,
And that's why through my responder program, right, I get
yes,
a lot of people who comes and they ask me right questions and I train them. So that is the beautiful part of like my life. That's why I enjoy my life, because when I teach them, I know I'm learning twice.
yes, yes.
And I have responders as young as 14 years old,
Okay,
and
okay.
mind you, very brilliant, so passionate. And she can tell me that Miss Drona, I'm not the same with my brother. I'm always
Yes.
fighting with him, but I'm very kind to outside people, and I'm still figuring it out why. So I was
Mm-hmm.
like, wow, such a bright student. And when I got her to come in with few teachers and students, we had this program like together, and
Right.
everyone was like, I thought I was boring, my session was bored, and she was
Mm-hmm.
getting bored. But then her father was like, no, no, she really enjoyed the session. So as young as 14 years old, so like how you said, if there's no counselor in, there's no group of counselors, teachers. And what
Yes.
teachers need to have is these active listening skills. They
Yes.
need to
Correct.
hear more, they need to listen more, they need to hear us, and
Yes.
talk less, and then guide us accordingly, not spoon feed and say, no, do this, do that, do that. It's not going to
Mm-hmm.
work.
Yeah.
We need to discover ourselves, right? Especially that crucial age,
Correct.
16 to 24 years old, you are developing your personality. So how do you
Yes.
talk to yourself? How do other people talk to you? So when you're going to share something, for example, to your parents, and if they're going to start advising you and saying, comparing those generations and
Yeah.
now,
Right. Yeah.
it's not going to work.
It's not going to work.
It's
Yes.
going to make things worse. You know, if you're just going to listen and talk less and just mirror them and just echo to whatever that they're sharing, although I know it's very difficult
Hmm.
to to keep it, to just stand still because it's your loved ones. There's a lot
Correct.
of emotions that will be pouring in, but you just need to listen and say, okay, so what are you thinking about it? What do you want to do about it? Questions like this to prompt
Yes.
them, to get them to reflect. I think the world, schools would be a better place, and people would look forward to go. But
Correct.
these days, the hands full of teachers who are passionate, and I
Hmm.
don't want to go into the details of why and all.
Yeah.
Simple
Sure.
as they are undergoing burnout.
Yes. There is
They are
there's a lot
doing,
of burnout. Yeah. I see
yeah,
that.
and admin work instead of
Yeah.
teaching, a lot of paperwork instead of teaching. So they
Correct.
will be like, okay, I need time for myself, I need time for my family, so I'm not going to do any extracurricular activities. But
Hmm.
why wait until a tragedy?
Yes, absolutely correct. Yes, wow, very intense. I'm sure we could actually uh, create a series, Rona. I feel this synergy now. We could, we could always talk offline, and see whether,
Yes, yes.
we could create more of this because, as I said, I'm offering myself to you as well because I really see this very acute, desperate need now, to be putting all that perspective into really creating, a great, peaceful mindset. Because if this is in order, everything else, has a way
Yes.
of finding balance and bringing a sense of peace into a person's life. On
There's
this
no
note,
health without mental health,
yeah,
right?
yes, absolutely correct. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely correct. 200% correct. On this note, we're going to take a short break just to kind of breathe a little bit.
Yes. It
Yes,
could have, triggered some of our viewers as well. So
yes, I'm
it's
sure.
really good to have this short break. Then we
Yes,
would come back
yeah. Short
fresh.
break, and we'll come back again. Okay, don't go away. To my
Okay, sure.
audiences too, yeah, stay right put. Don't go away. This is just a small little short sponsor break that I do to support the awesome partnership that I share with the Mac Clinic, who is a sponsor associate with Heart to Heart. The Mac Clinic has opened up a brand new outlet at the Great Eastern Mall, here right here in Ampang, where I live very closely. And this is Dr. Hugh, the medical director of the Mac Clinic, sharing a small little note.
Hi everyone, this is Dr. Hugh from the Mac Clinic, and I'm standing right here at this spot. We've got something very exciting coming your way. So here I am at our newest outlet, a clinic in Great Eastern Mall, and this is where we're going to launch very exciting new treatments, and it's a new place, a new spot for our clinic. It's our third clinic, the other two are in Bangsa. So do come and visit us if you're staying around in Ampang or KL area. Very near, we're only about 5 minutes away from KLCC. It's a new convenient spot for people in KL.
And it brings me back to Heart with Ethel Da Costa. And on my heart seat is this exciting, guest who is really sharing so much about mental health issues as we see it currently in Malaysia. And I'm sure we all have our own run-ins and experiences, with the necessity and need of ensuring that we contribute, whether it's in family or whether it's in people in our spaces, to really help people and support people who need assistance, assistance or good counseling services to have a great, healthy relationship with themselves. Let me bring Drona back. There you are, Drona. Did you breathe?
Yes, yes. I
Yes.
always do a debrief actually.
Yeah, I think it's so important because the conversation gets so heavy, right? Because there's so much,
Yes.
there's never enough to it. From your perspective, I need to understand, what is the difference between mental illness and mental disorder in a very short nutshell.
Okay, mental illness and mental disorder is actually the same, but it's like a different word. It has the same definition.
Okay,
Looking at how what is the spectrum. Is it chronic? Is it something that's like a beginning, or is it something that needs can be just he- um, what are the interventions? Can cognitive behavioral therapy, for example, be
right,
done to guide this person? Can sometimes some people could just become better, they could just step up with a talk therapy. So
right,
counseling, understanding where they are coming from when they pour their heart out, like when they start crying, when they start really and when the counselor is empathizing, showing all this, exhibiting, exercising whatever empathy um, traits that a counselors usually they are trained, right? This is
right.
something that we learn. So when that happens, it actually eases the whole process. So in
Hmm,
short,
hmm.
it's the same thing. It's just that it's differently used. Like some countries would prefer using it illness,
Okay,
some countries would use it as disorder.
okay, okay. All right, okay. That's kind of, I think so, uh, kind of in a nutshell, right? Is what you're saying, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. This I really want to ask you this because as a mental health educator, it is so important also for you to also be in a good, safe space too, right? To be able to then offer help and assistance to somebody else. What have been your own life learnings, especially during COVID, that helped you sustain your own peace of mind? And at the same time helped you also ensure that Drona Wellness was out there contributing to the greater good.
Yeah, I live in a long distance relationship. So
Okay.
my husband is most of the time overseas. He was in Abu Dhabi when
Okay.
COVID happened,
All right.
and he was unable to come back because there was like very strict. If the COVID numbers are increasing, and they would like blacklist him, and he can't go back. So
Yes.
he's there, of course, for survival, right? So what happened to me was I started panicking because
Mm,
I had
mm.
my two boys, and that time was just when I gave birth to my second boy. And I
Okay.
was
Okay.
already undergoing all these post pregnancy blues and, talking to people on what I should do. And I felt so like stagnant.
Mm.
However, I think because I had this relationship with myself and, I have my guru. We have this guru shishya relationship, right?
You
So
mentioned.
that actually helped me to compose myself, to embrace whatever thing. I was very angry with my husband,
Okay.
for I think about a year, because
Okay.
for him it was the work, it
Right.
was money that
Yes.
mattered. Then I realized that, oh my God, gratitude, as much as I was preaching about gratitude and all, I
Mm.
couldn't practice it at that point of
Yeah,
time.
it's so
Like I
important.
said, it's always easier said than done. It's very
Yes,
easy to say,
absolutely.
oh, write down in the journal and but what happened was I brought myself and I started going within and I
Mm,
started
mm.
asking. So, what I was doing was I was doing like a series of talk on Instagram
Okay.
with people from every part of the world. Like I
Mm,
had
mm.
my friends in US, UK, Australia, from India, from Nepal coming in and just sharing on how are they coping. So I
Right.
was gaining people's coping mechanisms, their coping skills. I was learning from them. Even
Right.
South Africa, I had my friends there and they said, okay, come, let's go. Just half an hour talk. But that
Mm,
time, I think Instagram didn't have the the feature of saving the
Yes.
whatever uh, live.
Yeah.
So it's not there, but I remember taking screenshots and just putting it, and then I started doing talks like this and
Okay.
just talking to friends, sharing about healing. And sometimes I would just like vent it out and get so angry at my husband, and then someone would just say, no, probably um rather than not having a job and coming back to the family with two
Right.
kids,
Right.
it's better that he's away and he's sustaining. We
Yes.
are self sustaining, we are not depending on anyone. So that could be a happier thing. But you won't believe me, he actually came back after 2 years. And,
Wow.
that was when I stepped in and I said, I had to do things because my boy started missing the
Yes.
father.
Yeah.
Although, yes, every day there's a call and all, but I was very angry from within. I was like, your friend could go back, why not you?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
then I started realizing, I said, you know what? I cannot control people, not even my spouse. So
Yes.
wellness is an individual thing that I
Yeah.
had to go within, and I had to undergo few sessions like with a counselor, with a clinical psychologist, just to
Mm.
understand what was I angry about. Then
Yes.
I found out what was my trigger. Then,
Mm.
and you won't believe me, I was busy. Like it was a blessing in disguise. My business was like growing because that was like the need of the hour, right? Mental
Correct. Yeah.
health. So
Yes.
everyone was like, Drona, can you do this? Can you do that? And if you go back to see the statistics of suicide in Malaysia during
Yes.
that point of time,
Yeah. It
it
was
was
very
very
high.
scary. Yeah,
Yeah.
it
It was
was
very
very
high.
high. And
Yeah.
attempting suicide, it could go up to like 650 cases per day.
Oh my God. Okay.
And the one that succeeded is 10 cases per day.
Oh.
And these are, I'm talking about only reported cases.
Hmm.
And,
Correct.
very sorry, they could be some kind of trigger alert. Yeah. But
Yeah.
this is the truth that I'm sharing.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
that is why I'm so passionate about being a mental health educator, because that one life matter. If
Hmm.
I were to just, if I couldn't talk to that person, at least, to normalize the help seeking behavior, getting them to call befrienders or
Yes.
call the police station or call somewhere that they needed help. Then I see that there's so many kind people who started like the white flag
Yeah.
movement,
Yes. Yes.
raise the flag if you need food. And I felt like, wow, yeah,
Yeah.
people are kind. They were sharing whatever that they had. That is the
Yes.
beauty of being a Malaysian, living in
That
this
is correct.
country.
Correct.
Despite all the cultural differences and all, but we were one at that trying times. And I realized that I started talking to people who were able to support my emotions. So
Hmm.
there was a
Hmm.
lot of what you call that, healthy boundaries that I put forward. I would not
Yes.
say that I removed toxic people, because sometimes I felt that I was toxic myself,
Hmm.
especially to
Yeah.
my spouse, to my
Yeah.
husband. I
Yeah.
would
Yeah.
always like just snap at him and say that, oh
Hmm.
yeah, these are. No. Then I started like, okay, Drona, what are you doing?
Right.
Why are you doing this? So because I had the knowledge,
Yes.
I could somehow pull myself back. And you won't believe me, I even co-authored a book
Oh, okay. I did
known
not know
as,
that.
yeah, Life is a Gift, and Loving You, and it was like one of the bestseller. I met people, co-authors from different part of the world, and
Hmm.
that was during these 2 years, this
Okay.
lockdown. And I was like,
Okay.
and I
Interesting.
picked out of the self-love, right, like the seven self-love, I wrote about creating a healthy boundary. And I
Okay.
never knew that it would be like a bestseller on Amazon, and getting people to buy from different parts of the world. And
Yes.
I always thought that I was not good in writing.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I think until today I have this thing that I'm not good in English. I'm just like an average student. But
No, you're
because I
fine. You're
poured out my
fine.
feelings, I poured out
Yes.
what I felt and how I coped and how I looked at things. Like, we
Right.
always go with likes and dislikes.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
main problem in life. We only
Yes.
talk to people that we like, and
Yeah.
instantly the energy changes when someone dislikes walks into the room.
That is
So I
true.
was like, Drona, learn how to overcome that, overcome, rise. So of
Yes.
course the spiritual energy within, and with the help of people around me, the association helped me. I could
Mm.
see that my parents were very upset that my husband was unable to come back, and he came back after 2 years. I was upset, but then I felt that if he was here, I wouldn't have done what I did.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
The
I would
universe
have.
knows, Drona. I
Yes.
always,
Yes.
the universe
Yes.
knows what she's doing and why she's doing, you know.
And I wouldn't have written, I remember I would like do my gratitude journaling, right? And I would cry, and I
Yeah.
would say, okay, three things that you're going to be grateful for today. Sometimes I run out of idea, and because
Correct.
I'm crying and I'm tearing, right? And I
Yes.
would say, okay, let me thank my eyes today, let me thank my tears.
Mm.
Because
Nice.
of that tears, that emotion that I had, and I didn't like control myself. I said, no,
Yes.
Drona, just cry, just write what you have to write. And
Hmm.
people started reading that part of my story, and they said, wow, I never
Nice.
knew that, we thought that you were very happy go lucky kind of a person, but there
Yeah.
was something
Yes.
within. And I realized that it was not for me. I was actually more concerned on my kids,
Hmm.
that they are losing that 2 years without the father. And I realized that they are perfectly fine. I think even without me, they could survive. They have
Yeah.
very high survival instinct.
Yes.
I was worrying something that I couldn't control, which was
Hmm.
them. As a
Yeah.
mother, I was thinking, no, no, I need to provide the best. So I started taking pictures, like like a selfie, uh, snapping um, that moment, just putting my tripod and hugging
Nice.
them and taking pictures. And I was like, just on social media, I would put my second one to bed, and I would be like having a conversation. And suddenly
Hmm.
he wakes up, I'll be like tapping him, and I
Yeah.
felt it was so real.
Correct.
And I think I valued myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that love, that self love that I poured towards myself,
Correct.
I never seeked for any external validation.
Yes. That is
People
good.
can, yeah,
That
and
is awesome.
now people can just tell me what's wrong with your makeup, or why do
Yeah.
you look ugly, what's wrong with your hair, why are you tying up. I'm
Yeah.
least bothered, because I know I have stepped up. And these two
Yes.
years, COVID has taught me that life is so fragile. I
Correct.
could go anytime. People around me could just um, leave. I could lose someone that's precious to me. So I
Yes.
decided that, okay, gratitude is that something that I wanted to. That's
Yes.
why, like, we started this session by thanking each other. And I think that
Yes.
is the culture that the beautiful culture that we grew up in.
Yeah,
So
you're
this,
right.
this,
You're right. I
this is
think
something that,
gratitude,
yeah, and
gratitude
something
is
we
a superpower.
preserve. But of course,
Yes.
the stigma is also something that we can change, and
Hmm.
I honestly, as a mental health educator, I see changes. I see more people talking about it. People always think that they need to be an expert to talk about mental health.
Yes.
Actually, you do not need to be an expert. You just need to facilitate. If you are unsure, you can
Hmm.
always check back. So, like for me,
Right.
right, I always go back to reliable sources.
Right.
WHO, like when you talk about suicide in Malaysia, I go to Relate, and
Right.
I go to my mental health management Australia to gain that right knowledge, so I don't
Hmm.
speculate and I don't
Yes.
share it with people.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. That's correct. That's right. Yeah. I also think that, mental health is also each one's responsibility to self, right, Drona?
Yes,
Because I think
yes,
that's so important, no? I mean, there's always somebody else to facilitate and help, but I need to take 100% responsibility towards doing the work towards my own mental health
yes,
as well. Correct?
yes,
Because,
definitely.
yeah, because I believe now, this generation is a lucky generation because there's so much of access to information.
Mm.
unlike when we were kids, or our parents were kids, right? there was
Yes.
there was there was limited access, and with that, that entire burden of taboo and stigma attached to mental health conversations. This generation does not have that, you know
Yes.
because
Yeah.
we
But
just type mental
uh,
health. Sorry.
talking about that, sorry to interrupt. I would just wanted to share this before I forget. But when
Yes.
I talk to corporates, when I do with employers, when I
Correct.
do with organizations, the problem that they face is the young generation starts self-diagnosis. So
Yeah.
that is something that is also a no-no
I think
because
it
they would
is
just read.
self-diagnosis. I think it's self-diagnosis and self-sabotage.
Yes, yes, yes.
I see
And they
that,
would just say, I can't do this, boss, because my mental health is affected. So when
Yeah.
they ask back, okay, why? That's why I
Resilience.
would
Yeah.
go back to the organization and say, that's when you need to create an awareness program
I
to
agree. I
educate these
agree.
people.
I agree. Yeah.
Mental health is when you lose your functionality. That's
Yes.
when it becomes an issue. But
Yeah. Yeah.
until you can do things and you are able to cope, and
Correct.
leaders need to be
Yes.
taught the coping skills so that they
Yes.
can help their followers or
Yes.
their employees.
Right.
So that's what I always get this thing. But
No,
Rona,
you're right.
they are
Yeah.
they are abusing this. They are saying that it's their mental health that's affected. So
Yeah.
I said, okay, that's when you need to be trained on how to respond.
Yes. Correct. Yeah. Yeah. That is. I think that is very crucial. The response, right, which comes from a
Yes.
place of being educated about it, right? Drona, we could talk till the crows come
Yes,
home,
yes,
so to say.
exactly.
Also, time limit to wrap it up.
Yeah. Yes.
Very quickly, I want to know from you.
Mhm.
Just identify three core issues that needs to be addressed at the individual and community level. Just three core issues, if you can quickly identify, so I can we can wrap up this
Okay. I
conversation.
would say that the first thing is self care.
Self care.
Self care. Yes,
Okay,
self
self care.
care.
Okay.
If you don't identify who needs self care, who needs certain relaxation method,
Hmm.
as an employer or employee, you are going to lose someone.
Yes.
So employers need to equip themselves. Community needs to know that self care, relaxation is the core. Do
Hmm.
not take, okay, for example, okay, I finish this work and I'm going to reward myself. It doesn't
Yes.
work that way.
Right.
When you don't relax when you're supposed to, when you don't do things accordingly, your body is going to demand for it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
don't let until it demands for it and you're going to end up in the hospital.
Yes.
So that's why it could be as simple as going out, going towards, like, walking towards a greenery,
Yeah.
jungle, hiking, even
Yeah.
walks just
Resting.
around.
Yeah.
Yes,
Resting. Sleeping.
sleeping.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can feel so good by just sleeping without any thoughts, zero the mind and just take a good nap and come back stronger.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
another thing would be, the secondary thing would be resilience. To
Yeah.
build resilience,
Yeah.
it's not, we are not, it doesn't come like an inborn thing,
Hmm.
it's taught. So
Yeah.
it's very
Yes.
important.
It's the exercise. It's a muscle that you
Yes.
have to exercise every single day. Yeah, you're right.
Yes, so this is something that I feel that everyone, the community, or employers at workplace, they need to learn this. How do I build mental resilience?
Resilience.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's many factors to it, but in a nutshell, this. And thirdly is gratitude,
Gratitude.
something that's often overlooked. You know,
Hmm.
you
Yes.
have a food, it could just be a simple instant noodles, but if you're going to pour so much of love,
Yeah.
as like when our mom is even doing porridge, it tastes
Yeah.
so good because there's so much of love in it. So
Yeah.
that gratitude is something that we need to have. The community, like
Yes.
recently there was this budget in Malaysia, right, that was
Yes.
announced, and
Yeah.
I started seeing people complaining over
Hmm.
about it. So I was like, why it didn't affect me?
Yeah.
So then I stepped back and I said, okay, it's probably because I have built mental resilience that I'm not going to depend on the government or, the money.
Yes.
let me be self sustaining,
Mm.
let me sustain myself. So
Mm.
then when I had gratitude, that I'm thankful that I can freely, you see, like we can just freely do this talk without any restrictions. There are certain countries who do not allow certain
Yes.
apps,
Yeah.
like you can't use WhatsApp in certain countries
Yes. Yeah.
freely,
Right.
unlike how we use it here. So I'm so thankful
Yeah.
that yes, my ancestral land is Nepal, but my grandparents, they came here for a reason, from
Mm.
Himalayas to Malaya, now
Right.
Malaysia. So I always told myself, no, there is a reason why, and why I was so attached or so interested to learn about mental health.
Mm.
So there is a reason, how we were treated here, being a minority. But I think that is something that I started loving,
Yes.
and I said, yes, God, thank you for this, the unity that we have despite
Yeah.
differences, that
Yes.
love that we have,
Yeah.
despite all the differences. So that is something, the three key thing, which is resilience, self
Self
care,
care. Yeah.
and also gratitude.
And gratitude. I love that. I think the three values completely sums up, to ensure that you have a healthy state of mind every single day. Because that's exactly what I do. When I wake up in the
Yes,
morning, I say, today is going to be a happy day. That is
yes,
it,
yes,
That's the
yes,
intention I put out any which way. Today is going to be a good day. Today is going to be a happy day. Every time I sit down to eat my whether it's my lunch or my dinner, I kind of say very loudly and said,
yes,
"Thank you, universe, for putting food on my table. It's just not
yes,
food; it's just great food for putting food on my
yes,
table. You know, for giving me health, for giving me happiness, and bringing wealth into my life to be able to afford the food that I eat. That is it.
yes,
That is it. Beautiful. I wish, for the benefit of my audiences, I wish we imbibe these small, small little conversations that we create for ourselves to ourselves to kind of
yes,
put
yes,
us to put us into a frame of being, of creating a positive reinforcement for ourselves, right? Because
yes.
not everybody is going to contribute to your life in the same way that you do, like you mentioned so
Yes,
correctly.
and we can't pour out from an empty
Yeah,
vessel.
you cannot pour from an
We
empty
need to
vessel.
get
Yeah,
that oxygen mask on us
yeah,
before
yeah.
helping another.
Yes, yeah, I
And
always
I
say
think,
that. Always say
yeah,
that,
and
you know?
tomorrow
Because,
or today would be a best day to start, because tomorrow is World Mental Health Day. The whole
oh
world is going to
yeah,
celebrate it.
yes, yeah.
And
Oh, I
I'm
did not
so
know
glad
that.
that, yeah, and we
Right.
got in touch. This I was like so excited, despite
Yeah,
all the,
right.
cancellation and, unable. And I said, okay, let's just do it today. At
Yes,
least it would give, because I wanted to contribute something towards the society, towards the community. And I said, okay, why not just do it today? If someone
yes,
here who's listening, our listeners, you do not know where to start, it could
yes,
just be as like, smiling at someone that passes by,
yeah,
because that person could be someone who has planned a suicide.
yeah,
When he sees you smiling, and he would have that love within, and say, wow, I'm
yeah,
not alone.
yes,
There is something that I can contribute further. It could lead to like a ripple effect.
yes,
So,
correct.
being genuinely kind and sincere, being truthful. If you really
Yeah,
can't do it, just say no. If you can do it,
yes,
just say
yeah.
yes.
Honesty is the best policy.
Yes,
I so
yes,
always say that even if it gets you into trouble, better be honest, because
yes,
lies means that you have to keep creating lies and then remembering the lies as well.
exactly. And that's when it produces more worries.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
that's what I've seen among my clients, and my clients, right? They would
yeah,
keep this thing. Then I said, okay, why not just speak the truth and
yeah.
shame the devil?
Just yeah, just be
Sometimes
damn, just be truthful. That's it.
yes, it
Whatever.
requires a lot of effort and practice for sure,
Yeah.
but the results is very, very it's beautiful. It gives the
Yes.
peace from within, because you are being yourself. You don't have
Yes.
to hide, like how you said, you need to lie to cover another
Correct.
lie.
And then remember
Then
the
you,
lies too.
yeah, and it's
What
gonna
lies
that's
you
gonna
told?
cause a mental block. So just be
Yeah.
truthful, you know,
Yes.
honest, and just get things done.
Correct. I also have this little kind of little small test, as I call it,
Hmm.
in my personal spaces too, to also kind of see, when people actually are being truthful to me, and that is how I know if they are truthful to me or that they are not truthful to me. So I can decide for
Oh,
myself whether people, whether people, I should have people, those kind of people in my space, or let go, because I think it's
yes,
so important, when,
yes, yes,
because values like loyalty matters to me, because I am a very loyal friend. I'm a very loyal woman, and I would want loyalty back as well, for being loyal, obviously, right? Why would you
yes,
want
yes.
dishonest people in your life, right?
Yeah, and
And
I remember the story that you shared about Ram, who bought you food when during
yes,
your COVID.
imagine,
Yeah,
that has been such a, uh, sometimes, the shells of your eyes fall off, literally, right?
yes,
Because
yes,
here was somebody who I absolutely had, nothing to do with, if you know what I'm saying, in that way,
yes, yes.
actually reaching out to me with help of that sort, a simple,
No hidden agendas,
no
right?
hidden agenda, correct? A simple security guy who comes up and says, "Ma'am, I know that, this is when I came down with COVID, that kind of thing. I was losing
Yes,
life
yes,
of my own, right? Said, this is my ATM card. If you need the number, you can use it for yourself, so you can order online, or I will go and get your, essentials and groceries for you." I was shocked, Drona, to
yes,
have
yes,
this absolutely, act of generosity and kindness being shown to me from complete stranger,
yes,
when I reached out to a best friend who could not do it for me, and
yes,
that kind of
yes,
told me, so much. I said, I am a loyal friend, but in my act of, in my time of need, this friend could not be a loyal friend to me back. You know,
yes.
you know what I'm saying? Correct?
Yes, yes.
Can you
And
just,
I remember that because you wrote it like in a story. That's why
yeah,
I always get people to share their mental health stories with me because
yes.
it's very healing, right?
Yeah, yeah,
It
yeah,
healed you. Like,
yeah.
you said it opened
It
your
completes, like,
eye.
the shells just fall off your eyes and saying, okay, I need to be, I need to be discerning, who I give my loyalty and trust and love to. If it's not
Yes.
reciprocated in the same feeling of heart, especially in an hour of such desperate need. Correct. You have
Yes.
COVID. I can't do
Yeah.
anything, in that way,
Yes,
right?
yes, yes.
Yeah. The universe does, as I said, the universe always shows you the true faces that needs
Yeah,
to be
and I think
seen.
it comes back, when we do things
Yeah.
unexpectedly, when we don't
Yes.
expect anything in return.
Yeah.
I think that
Yes.
is that food for the soul, I always say.
Yes.
You
Absolutely.
know,
Yeah.
yeah, when you
Absolutely.
help someone without any intention, you just want to do
Attention.
it because you don't think of anything. Just leave it
Yes.
to the universe and it
Yeah.
comes back.
Oh, yeah.
So this is something that I
Lots of
always
examples. Yeah.
share.
Lots of examples in my life. Oh, my God. I've had people out of the blue, just doing things for me that I would never imagine, from the
Yes.
heart. And that's why I say, Jonah, the universe has your back, has my back too.
Yes.
And,
Yes, exactly.
and
And
that
thank
is
you.
what,
Thank you so much for, allowing me to share in support of World Mental Health Day because I was like cracking my head, despite the busy schedule, what do I do? How do I do?
this
Because
is a
like how
beautiful,
you said,
this was
even
beautiful.
October is like something that's very close to my heart. I love the October month. And when you said, okay, let's do it, I said, wow. And 9th October is rightfully falling on a Sunday. And
Yes,
tomorrow is a public holiday. So
correct.
I do not know how many of them have tuned in, but probably due to the long weekend, they could have been, with spending time with their family and loved
Sure,
ones. But I'm
sure.
definitely going to share it so that more people would
Yes,
watch it.
yeah, please do. Let's
Yeah.
do that. And as I said, you have my help and support, because it's
Yes.
something very dear to my heart too. I think we really need to invest, and stay invested for ourselves as well in that, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Drona, This has been a true heart to heart conversation. And I love the fact that you took the hard seat today and shared such valuable, information with us. A deep thank you from my heart with in
All
gratitude.
right.
I wish your work all the blessings and all the support that it requires to change lives and make a difference. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm going to see you soon in person. Let's make
Yes,
sure
yes,
that happens.
yeah.
Yes. All right. Good night and see you soon, Drona.
Okay, bye-bye.
To all my audiences who have stayed put to listen to this edition of Heart to Heart, thank you so much for being there with me today. I know we've had a very, very long conversation, but it was such an interesting conversation. And I really think the need of the hour to discuss mental health, from a close perspective of creating support systems within our circles, within family, within our communities, and and the greater good, the larger good of where we are. Thank you so much, Malaysia, for always giving me the support in my work, for the awesome brands I work with here. A big shout out to Chef James Wan, to Dr. Huyen Kit, medical director of the Mac Clinic, to Malaysia Tourism for being such huge support system to me, to all my friends in Goa and India who are either on WhatsApp or on calls or on Messenger, always giving out their love and support. Thank you so much. To my own heart circle of people who I really like and respect in Malaysia. Thank you so much for being with me on this journey. To all my audiences throughout my life for the last 32 years of my career as a media personality, for your love and support and for your encouragement. I am so grateful to you. Thank you. To my family in Goa, I love you and I miss you. I pray for your health and for your happiness every single day. Um, See you next Sunday with another awesome guest who will be a part of my Heart to Heart show. In the meantime, stay strong, stay healthy, and a small little, what would I call it? A message back again from my sponsor support, the Mac Clinic, on taking care of yourself, because that also breathes into your own self care and mental health as well. See you soon next Sunday. Good night.
Hey guys, welcome to the Mac Clinic. We've spoken about pickles, we've done Botox, we've talked about fillers, but today we have something special lined up for you. We are about to showcase the XLV by Cutera, which is a long pulse laser, and we have a very special guest with us today. Come on. So here we are preparing the XLV laser, but I did mention that we have a special guest. So here she is, Dr. Ong. Say hi, Ong. The award-winning XLV laser by Cutera is a state-of-the-art long-pulse laser from the United States. It is best in class for vascular lesions and is used by famous models such as Kendall Jenner. It is multifunctional and tones, rejuvenates as well as lifts with virtually no downtime. It is a walk-in, walk-out treatment done in less than 15 minutes. Comfortable and perfect for those busy days. And to top it all off, the Mac Clinic owns the only working XLV laser in Malaysia. So, we just finished with the Cutera XLV Laser Genesis. So Dr. Ong, that took about
About 15 to 20 minutes, I think.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty quick lunchtime procedure, I would say.
Was there any discomfort at all for you?
To be honest, I only felt slightly warm. Other than that, it was relatively comfortable. And I would also like to add on that actually it is a very quick, effective and hassle-free laser treatment, as you don't need prior numbing, and it only takes about 15 to 20 minutes and then you're good to go.
So there you go. The XLV Laser Genesis. Available only at your favorite clinic, the Mac Clinic.